of friends and kindred spirits. I'm off key this morning. I apologize for that. I'm real anxious about what I'm going to be saying this morning. So bear with me. We'll make it through. The story is told that the Cherokees, when they tell their stories to one generation to the others, when the elders tell the story and begin a story of their people, it's not once upon a time, but this is what the old folks told me when I was a child. So this is what the old folks told me when I was a child. In 1955, a group gathered in downtown Tampa, Latino, Cuban American, Caucasian American, African American, to look at the great book series, but also to talk one among the other about the situation in society, the big picture. 1955, Tampa, Florida. Can you imagine? Jim Crow is strong. Ike is in the White House, but segregation and the struggle in the South is just beginning to boil up. 1955, Tampa, somewhat cosmopolitan. It's had that Caribbean trade for years. The cigar industry is still fairly strong. The other industries are proving that the post-World War II industrial buildup that was the 1950s is fully engaged. Standard of living is pretty good for white folks. The suburbs are spreading out. Temple Terrace is developing. 1955, Tampa. And a few folks get together to examine life's perennial questions, the ideas and the images that great literature and the great teachers have taught, but also to apply them to their lives. Well, in a few years, they decided that they wanted to shift into a more religious kind of understanding, so they sought affiliation and understanding as Unitarians. The fellowship was moving throughout the South at that time. Monroe Husbands was moving throughout the region, establishing fellowships. And it was pretty easy back then. If you can get 10 people together and get a letter off to Boston, they'll give you a certificate. We were just trying to expand and we didn't know how to do it. Trying to break out of New England, out of the Midwest, to this buzzing area, growing area of the South and the Southwest and the Far West. And the fellowship movement was very strong. Well, during that era, some ministers would come here and there, time and again, and try to do a little bit of work. Well, the local people, and their names, bless their names, they're lost to history now. I'm not sure we can test ourselves. There may be a few members in this room that remember some of those pioneers, but they laid the flag. They set up the Unitarian Universalist option in Tampa in 1955. By the 1970s, it had become established into some type of group of 50 or 60 or 70 that were engaging in trying to maintain religious education for their children and also the hope of growing and touching their community a lot more. The atmosphere had changed. Civil rights was going on. Vietnam was going on. This acreage was found out in the country. And they built our little Hobbit dome out here. And imagine how proud they were, how struggling they were. Imagine how proud they were of that creation. And I know it causes some heartaches and some chagrins on our part what to do with it today, but isn't that like all legacies? What do you do with the bad stories? The little dome is our legacy. It points to a story of a struggling pioneer people who said, we're here and we're odd. We are odd. We're going to say we're going to look at it a different way, and we're not going to accept the status quo of segregation in the South. We're going to accept the status quo of war is always right. We're going to say in a meaningful way, can we find ways to be together in peace, in freedom, to search a truth and find a truth that serves us? Can we educate our children to be open and loving? Can we find tools to give them that can embrace the world that will change it just a little bit for the better? Unitarian Universalists in Tampa, Florida, 60 years or so ago, began a process. 30 years ago, in the last 30 years, this congregation has had 9 ministers. 13 of those years was Mike Young. So we subtract 13 from 30, and we've got 17. Now we subtract Mike from 9, and we have 8. I am the 8th member, so we subtract Doak from the 8. We have 7 ministers who served over in 15 years. 7 ministers in 15 years. Now, what I'm getting at here is to say something very honest to you and very loving to you. There has been a struggle with this congregation of how to deal with ministers. And there's been a struggle with the UUA to how to find a minister that suits you. Well, we're doing it different this time. We have 7 of the most capable people I've ever been involved in who are serving on our search committee. And they've gone about a task that is wonderful, time-consuming, and very impressive. They have met every week for 2 or 3 hours, and then they've spent countless hours during the week of their own time to craft a package, a congregational package, using all the input that you guys in this room and others gave to them to craft a picture of who we are as a Unitarian Universalist church. And on December 1, that was posted within the UUA communication links, and ministers are looking at it today, and we'll be looking at it in the next few months. And they will get folks to say to them, we want to be the minister in the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa. And they have my letter, and they'll be calling me, and they have Sarah's letter, and they'll be calling her, and they'll be looking at who you are and what you might be, and whether they can come here and serve you in good conscience in a good way. Now, Doak Mansfield came as an interim minister, and I've fallen in love with you, and you and with me, so many of you have. But the reality of it is, we've got to have the talk, okay? We've got to talk. We've got to talk. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be humorous here. We can't, you know the talk? You haven't had the talk with the spouse or with a date? It's time to have the talk. I'm a fleeting thing. I can't stay. There's been a lot of energy in the congregation about, well, let's just keep Doak. Well, as gratifying as that is to me, I'm wasting a Sunday morning to say publicly, no. Peggy and I are going to Laramie, Wyoming. No. That's a great joke I've got, because they are actually looking for somebody, and I might be interested. But the best thing about Laramie, Wyoming, it has a windsock. You know what a windsock is? And it's made out of a log chain. Take a moment. Yeah. This is what the old folks told me once upon a time. The Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa is standing ready to engage a new life and a new possibility with a new minister come next August. And that future is going to be wonderful. And I believe in that because you have proven in the 2 years we've been together how wonderful you are. You've stepped up financially. We've still got some problems in leadership, and we need more of you to step forward and say, I want to be a part of this. And Bill and the board are working real hard to make that easier for you. The Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa can be anything it wants to be. It's going to be engaged in some future challenges. What do we do now that we're filling up this place? This is a prediction from Doak, and you can take it to the bank. About this time next year, there will be a lull in the excitement around the new minister. The energy will be affected a little bit because the newness and the honeymoon will have been worn off. And then you will sort out how this is going to be because the rhythms would have changed. And Sarah was different, I'm different, the new minister will be different. But the work that will have been done by the search committee and you and the UUA, you will have the best candidate possible for this pulpit. And I challenge you and I invite you and I encourage you to be a team with them, to collaborate with them in building up the possibilities of what this congregation wants to do. I can give you all kinds of schemes. I can plan, I can say this congregation needs to work on its own leadership, be good at what it does, and then start nurturing and mentoring satellite congregations out here and yon. I can say we need a new building, we need a $1 million building set right over here. All of those dreams. It doesn't matter what I say. It's what you and the new minister and the life that you are going to be engaged in presents the opportunity for you to be about. And that's not double talk. You maintain the quality of this life that you have. You affirm the blessings of what freedom can bring. You hang on to the notion that love can bind us and bless us even in the worst of times. You learn that we are prickly people and we need patience and understanding to cooperate with one another. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's going to be what we can make it to be. There's nothing very special about Doak Mansfield except he's been honest with you and been caring with you, and I don't take myself too seriously. You are watching, and your church committee is looking for something not exactly like that, but they know now from the experiences of the last 7 or 8 or 9 years what this congregation can tolerate, and what it expects, and what it can respond to. And I've challenged them, and they've taken on the challenge not only from me, from themselves, but to get the best candidate possible. And I will say, when they call me about this congregation, I will say to them, it's the jewel and the unknown quality and quantity that you want if you can be a real person. If you can stand in honesty before them, not to manipulate them or talk over to them, but talk with them and talk about the issues of life and be an inspiration, and through your integrity and your authenticity, you can go anywhere you want to be. But don't come down here dishonest, and don't come down here with agendas. Relate to them, learn to love them, and they will respond to you. So Doak, Maddox, Mansfield, and Peggy are going to pack up come August, and we're going somewhere else. But in the meantime, we're going to have fun the next 6 or 8 months. I'm going to talk to you like I usually talk to you, and trust that you can understand that your joy in anticipation of the new minister needs to be there. And you can grieve for me, but I took your money and I'm getting out of here, okay? If I could sing, I would sing the song for all the women I've loved, you know. Of friends and kindred spirits. There were friends and kindred spirits who put this dream together 60 years ago. They didn't know where that would go. They had no idea. On one occasion, one of their landlords learned that it was an interracial group in 1955, 57, 58. Tampa, that didn't work. So they were basically kicked out. They found another place, and then they found another place, and they went along, and they progressed, and they changed. And life presented them with new opportunities and with new challenges, and that's what it's going to do for you. But I came here hoping to reclaim a ministry that I'd been on a medical sabbatical for 10 years, dealing with heart, dealing with a dead heart and a new heart transplanted in my chest, and I found that I could do it again, and I had something to say. You responded to me positively, and that blessing will never be forgotten, and that as a treasure I will possess, will value forever. And Peggy's going to cry for 6 months after we leave. Let's go back to Tampa, and I'm going to say, sorry, we can't do that. There may be a room you can find, but I can't leave. The Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa is yours. What you want to do with it is what you determine. If you bicker with one another, if you play petty politics, if you look beyond the big goal of being of service to our children, ourselves, and the larger community, then you will lose. If egos take over in this room, if those who think they know better start pushing their weight around, if you be guided by small spirits, you will go the way of many Unitarian Universalist church. You will get flat and you will fade. If you keep that light shining and know that it's important, the friends you made here, the community we sustains, but everyone who comes through that door every Sunday is your future. If you don't acknowledge them, embrace them, and understand them, then you're losing what you need to be about. Unitarian Universalism is about an internal struggle with truth and love, to express it in the world. Now we can say our social justice ministry needs work. It does need work, but we have not found the people to come forward to say, let's go do this. So when you want to do that, those among you, you step up. We'll find a job for you. This congregation has the possibilities of being as grand and as beautiful if it wants to be. But if pettiness, if miserliness, and if the inability to laugh at one another is not there, then we're in trouble. I think I just totally messed up that sentence, but I won't worry about it. 30 years, 9 ministers. Take me away, take Mike away, 8 ministers, 7 ministers. you're going to have an opportunity to find a good person. That person's going to take this pulpit come August, September, and you're going to go on a new chart. So let's just get down to business for the next 8 months, and let me be me, and I will inflict you with my ideas to that point. And I'm going to stop now. It's too early, but that's okay, because that's all I've had to say. The worst... And I do apologize for the worst Sunday I've given you, but that's the best I could do under the circumstances. You're in the midst of the Christmas season. All the expectations are here. My only advice is to be gentle with yourselves. Walk softly in this time. It gets a little crazy, and I'm not sure if we're going to get over it anytime soon. It seems to be the way of the world. So as I said in my newsletter article, quit fretting about it, just get lost in it and watch it for all the humor it is. Okay. Megan.